No, this is being recorded.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So this is just for the purpose of exploration. And you can read the same kind of information, but now from the center. Right? So that could be interesting as an exercise, because these are the kind of things that we have seen, or that I felt that they were kind of clusters of things. So some of
Yeah,
people they were saying approach, some other even emotional engagement, more like an experience. For other people, was just important with the reporting part, or some others they were, I'm about principles or guidelines, or even even mentioning frameworks. And so scorecard assessment evaluation methodologies, I think it felt really constrained. And what we have seen is that we have different kinds of approaches, but it is more about this understanding transformation, as we said.
yeah, yeah. And I think that it's this circle that is of most interest to me, or I think that's our next step, is kind of creating clarity around what it is that is our purview, or what it is that we're trying to get at here, because the name that we were given was scorecards. And if that's the case, then we might not have a very big group. If we just limit ourselves to scorecards are one tool. But my sense is that there's a lot of people coming at it from other places. So I think that the map that this vortex does a great job of capturing sort of the broad scope of what our our purview is, or what
Yeah.
this what we're talking about. But so the next question is, well, how do we use it to help hone in on what it is that we want to do?
Yeah, but
Uh,
actually, as I told you before, in biomimicry, we like to think about the function of
right,
of what we are trying to achieve. Instead
right.
of what I like from this approach is that instead of being stuck in the terminology,
Hmm.
and we are really trying to see what we are going to be function for, or what is the kind of purpose that we want to achieve. So from my perspective, and I'm all in these kind of different sectors kind of thing, and I think you as well, it is always about this from one period to the next one, what things have changed.
Hmm.
And this is what somehow we call it transformation. So when we see the time as a line, it goes from times 0 to times 1 to times 2 to times 3. And
Hmm.
then we can see the progress or the development or in many different ways. So for example, in nature, we can see some of the pines that they have a lighter color, or sometimes they have flowers, and and sometimes it is just actually they are transforming in the other way around, like letting the leaves out, and they are signaling through color. So these are the kind of things that for me it gives me clarity into what to focus actually, because I don't think it is about agreeing on one terminology, but agreeing that we want to understand how this transformation happens, and how
Right.
can we actually transform and give a sense of we are here, we come from there, and we're going there.
Right. That is a helpful way to look at it. And I think in that sense, all of these all of these bubbles around transformation are ways of tracking that change.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. So there are
So,
many ways to track transformation, and these are our group is very diverse
mhm.
in in the ways. Maybe I didn't connect all of them. Maybe they want to connect themselves into one specific, right? Like they can also do it. But this is just a sentiment. So what we have seen here, and we can put it in a different size. For example, all the same size. So you don't have the bias of
Okay.
of the size. So let me put it here. Let me open it again. So let's say that there is no one that is more important than another one, but that we have a diversity of concepts around tracking transformation.
Mm-hmm.
We like that.
Yes.
Okay, and then if we see it like fully open, we see that there are different like layers of information. So if I can present it like this, I can just take out the lines, for example, and go and have an exploration on whatever is around. So for example, in approach, we have some of them that they are not even a specific example. But in this layer, I try to capture the different kinds of examples, but it's very difficult to know all of them, at least for me. And especially with the language, it became really hard at some point with all
Right.
the caps letters all together. So, for example, they have a transcaler, this term, right? Like
Yes.
it seems to
Yeah.
have something around evaluation and transcaler, future fits, behavior change, SDGs. There was another guy, the guy from Africa, saying that collective thinking, I think it was the thing, his name is
Yeah.
Coffee. So,
Coffee. Yeah.
for example, Coffee was talking about collective thinking, and Coffee
Mm-hmm.
was also talking about behavior change. So
Right.
I think this is for me very real because in our countries, for example, it is about what is happening and how to make it real on the field. Otherwise, you stay too much in theory, and then it's
Right.
very difficult to apply a change because you think a lot. Right?
Right.
So I can see his point, but I also saw this opportunity with SDGs, and there are many different things, right? Like multi-capital scorecard. I didn't present, but the energy exchanges, or for example, I do have these biomimicry life principles, and how do they work? So I'm linked to some of them. So if you come here and then you link yourself into some of the bubbles, or you create others, then it's very useful. And this is the kind of thing that the guy from like for SDGs could work very well. So I was wondering if how can we actually cross-pollinate the knowledge in a way that is useful for the group and that we can do something else by sharing knowledge. Right? So in these indicators or word cloud, many things came. So for me here, it's important to see the size, the centrality, because when I was
Mm-hmm.
mapping it there, then I was having something like, oh, it makes sense this with this with this. So we're talking about systems and about narratives. So the storytelling was, I think, mentioned,
Yep.
and transformation, evaluation, systems were for me like big bubbles, and I think they are all related to communication somehow. So for as systemic thinkers, we all have templates or systems, so it would be very difficult if we have to convince each other to use something in a specific, right? But how can we make sense of the collective information that we have around here? And for me, that would be a nice place to start. And for example, if we go through transformation, we've seen it, but narratives. So we can see in narratives what is around there. I'm going to put the lines. So humanities, place-based, community, story maps, regeneration, some people, performance, paradigm worker. So I think these kind of things are just giving you a different perspective on the same information. And if we go to evaluation, it is like engagement, outreach, or communication, improve interaction, climate change, uh, research, active, success. So maybe success has to do something to signaling transformation. Like actually, when we do something right, should be a successful adaptation at some point. And so there are some people there just moving from one place to another, and you can go through all these on your own. So you just have to click on the things that are there. So I set up the whole thing, and then everyone can explore it in this way without actually putting something inside, which is
Right.
the trick, right? Without user, anything, you just have the link, and then if you press on the buttons on the left, then you just play around. And if you want to add information, that's another step. So I think transformation was also about social capital, societal transformation. And these kind of things, well, they can or not give you a specific insight, but I think it's really nice to see them all together and to have it as a system so we can explore it specifically who is doing what. So for example, if you're interested in climate change adaptation, there is one link here that goes from one side to another. And this could be, let's see what is on the other side, but topic areas and natural infrastructure. I remember this one. Like this might be a leverage point for climate change, the natural infrastructure, because it's actually natural and it's adding value. So this idea around regenerativeness is really, really interesting because it feels like just one word, but positive. When sustainability was more on, okay, I have to survive like this.
Right.
And I don't see that friction in regeneration in general terms. Like from biomimicry, you can talk about regeneration and transformation has the same kind of effect. Like you are just looking into something that moves from one state to the next one.
Yeah. So this is really helpful just to move around in this together here. And one of the things that I'm thinking in terms of how this can be useful for our next step is to invite everyone who was on the call, or actually everyone, so even those who were not on the call, basically just to click their own name and assess if that if you know if it's right, if there's anything that needs to be corrected, and if there's anything that needs to be added to that. So when people look at it, they might say, oh well, you know, that's what I said, but there's actually, you know, a different angle. And the key here is that let's assume for the time being that this particular architecture or design is good enough. You know, that we've got that. And to me, I think it's the, you know, the middle being transformation. That's what this whole working group is about. The second level, the second and third levels, the second level seems like the sort of the generic term that one could apply to this notion that you and I are talking about of tracking transformation. So if we say that tracking transformation is basically what this group is trying to do, and we might, you know, want to do more than just track it. We might want to you know, instigate it or what have you. But for the time being, let's just say that we're trying, and then around that, so the
yeah, good question for a group in general. Like, what are we trying to do with transformation?
Right,
Track
exactly.
Or see the change. Like, what is really inside instead of talking about what is the right concept. Like,
Right,
what are you trying to achieve with transformation if this group is about transformation?
right.
So we can even do something different, like a new one. So for example, let's say I start with this one, and then I say transformation. So we instead of trying to be just perfect for the last one, because it's gonna be like intensive, it is just like more like as a piece of art that doesn't have a specific unique meaning for each of the person, but just to give you an idea. So in my today conversation, I actually didn't put the names, so the people didn't feel like compromised with something that they have said. So not putting the names, actually, it is like softer for everyone.
Oh, okay. Yep.
You are not linked to a specific something, but it is just part of the conversation.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So that was nice. So, but we can do this. Let's say transformation, and then I make it available and I make it collaborative, and I can give you this link. You are in your computer?
Yep, yep.
So you have the link, you have a user, go there, please. And can we just change the screen sharing?
Sure. And so go over to me screen sharing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let me pick up the link.
Something that I realized, I was doing this research on biomimicry global ecosystem. And when you do close surveys, then you miss so many things that are emerging.
Uh-huh.
So it's a nice challenge just to understand how to map these emerging things and how to give voice like to the diversity of participants.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting to see what you do. Where is the share screen?
It is like two squares on the bottom, or maybe in the three dots you have a share screen.
Create OneDrive, Spotify. No. Oh, you know what? I need to close that. Okay, there we go. It was just. I have to grant myself permission to do this.
I'm sorry.
Let's see, Skype. Okay, there we go. Skype will not be able to record the contents of your screen until it is quit. Let me see. There we go. Start sharing.
I recorded again. Right? I'm recording
Okay,
again.
cool, great. So I guess I'm screen sharing now. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, totally. And so you go to the edit mode with the pencil and you click there.
Okay, start collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means that your email and my email are going to be visible. So we will know who put which bubble in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So just try to pull a line out of the bubble to create a bubble from the center. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
that is your bubble, right?
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. And then you can say, for example, tracking.
Okay. And category.
Yeah, if you have a second color, like the second one could be okay. And
Yeah.
say, if you have something to put, of course you can do it, a video or whatever you want.
Right.
So, and if I put one here, I just did it, so you might see it soon.
Yep. Okay. I see just the unnamed bubble 3 right now. Understanding. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this could be done by anyone in general, just with the user. And if I think that understanding and tracking are connected, then I just connect them.
Right. Okay. And then so it could also be
Mm-hmm.
So it could be like, or triggering, actually, I would call it.
So there is a 4-second delay, maybe a little bit less.
Okay.
But so far so good.
Yeah.
So maybe we can create, it's not an exercise, but like a kind of a game thing to connect what each of us thinks, actually, because then it is your own bubble, so you assume what you want to put there, and you can add pictures or sources. And we
Hmm.
can create like a collective intelligence vortex on our group. And then we can all go there and explore what we have created together, for example.
Okay, so essentially what we've got here is we've got one existing vortex that we, that you primarily did during
Yeah,
our call. And
yeah,
that has sort of gathered a certain, just a body of information.
yeah,
And it has, organized that information in just immediate intuitive ways. And so what you're suggesting is that, we basically just launch a blank slate
uh,
version, put
like one bubble.
transformation in the
Yeah,
middle, and say, okay, well, if we start from a blank slate, now that we've seen how this works, what here? Let kind of see what happens. Do it as an experiment and see what happens. Is that what you're suggesting?
yeah, yeah, to see how it emerges from the
Right,
people that wants to put something there.
right.
That would be like an open survey.
Yeah.
And you have the possibility to add bubbles or to add connections. That is the only rule. You cannot
Okay.
modify what is there that it doesn't belong to you.
Okay. Add bubbles or add connections.
Mm.
And so, and the purpose of this would be to see, okay, well, what is it that emerges? Like, so our last exercise was essentially trying to capture
Can you
what
stop sharing the
what's
screen?
there. What's that? Oh,
Can you stop
yeah.
sharing the screen? Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just writing that note to myself so that I didn't forget that.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, here we go.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I think I like that idea. And then, I mean, I guess what we're moving towards is getting clarity around what this group is doing. So in general, I guess if I had to say it without having it come from the group, it feels to me like what we're trying to do is kind of survey what are the different methodologies or approaches, or what are the different um, human activities that we can apply to the question of transformation. Like that's the most general way of saying it. And so that would encompass scorecards, it would encompass evaluation, it would encompass storytelling, it would encompass, communications. And so, maybe storytelling is a subcategory of that. But then we're sort of we're taking the biggest framing possible and maybe narrowing down from there.
Mhm.
Um,
And,
so
and
that
getting into the functionality of transformation. So,
that's right.
what do we want to do with transformation? We have seen that we have a lot of different entry points in the
Yes.
transformation. But if I ask you the next level question, it is like, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to see? What is the function that we're trying to achieve by looking into transformation?
Right.
And if it's verbalized, I think it sounds better, like in general, but let's see what it comes. Like there is no forbidden things to do. So maybe
Right.
there is one that actually wants to put his methodology or her methodology or something that came to her mind or to his mind, and then that gives an insight for another one to do something different. So
Right.
it is more like a creative emerging process than exact closed survey.
Yeah.
So it has to be acknowledged like this because it
Right.
is not about offering the most exact results, but it is more about offering more clarity in the collective sentiment kind of thing.
Right. Well, what I also like about this is that, we've got one self-selected slice of the pie, right? So we're not gonna encompass everything happening out there.
No.
But what it does is it says, well, here's a very relevant select group, but we could also we could take this outside of ourselves. We could introduce it to our networks and say, hey, what do you think? We could do a collective, we could do, an open call, if you will, if we wanted to. We may not want to do that.
That would be really nice, I think, because, for example, I would like to share with you or with someone else, just following and adding to your point, right? Like I do see things in cycles.
Uh-huh.
And you see it in carrying capacity.
Yep.
And there's someone else that sees it on measuring the population or biodiversity, or I don't know. So understanding the patterns behind the names,
yeah,
will actually gives us something really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think that this is just sort of voicing where I think we could take this. I do think it makes sense to ask them to just take a look at the one that we did together,
Mhm.
and see if there's value that further value that we can gain from that. So that could be, adding more detailed data to it. It could be, suggestions around different ways of organizing it. So that's sort of one thing that we're asking, and then we're saying, and let's simultaneously start with a brand new slate. We'll start with, one bubble in the center for transformation. We're not going to give any direction
Andy.
on what to do with that. And let's just see and give them, here's how to create a bubble.
Yeah, and we have it now maybe in the video, and
Right.
I can make a small edit of this.
Okay.
So we can send them the instruction or the way to go for adding one bubble with the user already.
That sounds great. That sounds
Yeah,
great.
but this is exactly what it's all about, the video in the center, remember? So the one that I did before, so I think it's this one. No, not this one. No. Issues. It's here. If you see it, let me know.
The one for our group.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. The 2020 transformation systems.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I just didn't recognize the image. Thank you. So this one, the transformation inside, it has a video.
Oh, okay. That's what that, I was wondering what that meant when it
Now it
had
makes
that.
sense. So
Gotcha.
this video is explaining actually in 1 minute and some seconds, like 20 seconds,
Right. Okay.
how to add a bubble here inside.
Okay.
But it is not the same one, so I will try just to do something specific for the other one, but it will be something
Okay.
similar to this. So you can just add a bubble, and then this was for the first one.
Okay. So you'll do that, and then I'll put that into the email. So I'm going to write an email where I say, essentially, I'm thinking three things, three activities at least. One is to take a look at the cleaned up version and suggest suggest anything on that, or even engage with it yourself.
Yeah.
Number two is, watch this video and contribute to our new vortex with just the prompt of, if transformation's at the center, what do you want to, what can we do to advance transformation?
Cool. I like the question. Yeah.
Okay.
To advance, accelerate. Advance, I think it's very advanced.
Yeah, advance. I mean, accelerate could be one way of advancing it.
Yeah, yeah, and it could pop up on the conversation.
Yeah. So, and then, it's engage with that. And then the third is just a simple, let's set a next call. What that does is it it soft shoes the question of what's the label or the category that we want to fit into. You know, it's sort of like we don't necessarily need that. I mean, this will make some people uncomfortable, I imagine. They'll be like, well, but wait a second, what's the category? What's the framing? What is it that we're doing? But for other people, it's like, oh, we're actually discovering what it is that we're doing,
Yeah.
by doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think this is the a clear idea,
Uh-huh.
and we have it. No, let's not make it more complicated than this.
I I agree. I agree. Let's do minimum viable product, as they say in tech.
Yeah, yeah. And then we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
if we can engage them, then it's fine. But I do think that it is a good opportunity to make it like more interactive at the same time. Like
Yeah.
it's really boring in like just knowing everything in advance, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Like you are asking questions to know the percentage of the answer, and I think it could be cool just to see how different we are and how many coincidences we have.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. No, I think this is a good plan. So we're I think we're done.